Right, so I'm live. Let me wait for some people to join and YouTube just show it playing for me. All right. So for for this stream, we're gonna continue on the weather app that I was working on before. I'm just gonna kind of try to make it a little bit more polished instead of just showing some zip codes weather. Also letting us delete, move around these items, and add our own, and then changing up the view to make it actually look nice, and maybe adding some emojis. Also, I'd like to save the data that we get on the device. So let's get started into this. So first off, I'll kind of go quickly through the code and remind ourselves what we've been working on. But we have 5 different zip codes here. Yeah, 5. I don't know why one's not showing up here. I guess we'll look into that. But we have 5 zip codes here, and we have a table view that shows all of them and represents their cells. Sorry, couldn't say that. And so we configure the navigation controller, or the navigate singleton with the navigation controller. We register the table view with the weather cell, which this is what's displaying. And we embed it in the view, so then it takes up all of the space. And then we fetch the zip codes for this. So one of these might actually be failing on here while trying to decode this. And yep, so we can tell that one of these, oops, can't type. Oh, come on. It's right there. It doesn't let me hover over it. Okay. Well, one of these zip codes is not returning the right format, or might not return anything at all, since we're kind of ignoring the error. But that's why we see 4. Okay, so then we have the fetch function that does a data task, and we get a publisher, and we subscribe and sync to the publisher, and then once we get our data, we update this view, or we update the table. All right. So looking down a little bit more, we have what our data is, and I think this is, yep. So we have a weather object that is the main and description, and I'm trying to remember this because there's quite a bit of, and this is, so the naming from this is specifically from the API right here. So if we go into the docs right here and we look by zip code, we can see weather main is clear and description would be clear sky. So we see clouds and scattered clouds. So main is clouds and the description is scattered clouds. Name would be right here, and main, or I love how they keep using main, but main as temperature has our temperature that we'd want to use. Okay, cool. So that's all that, and then we just have it linking up to the weather cell. We have a weather cell UI table view, and weather cell extends from table view cell, which is from SwiftUIKit, which is the main thing that we're using to do all this and all this kind of code. So then we configure the cell, and we update the data. So that's how we are where we are. So let's split this out and move this into different files. So we're going to move weather cell into its own file. And I'll just change that to UIKit and SwiftUIKit. All right, there we go. And then we're just going to move all this data into one. So all these structs, or our models, will just go into its own file. And I'm just pressing Command N to create a new file quickly. That's the shortcut. So I'm just going to say this is models, and then we'll put our stuff in here. Sadly, I mean, you can, oh my goodness. We have to import SwiftUIKit for the sole purpose, just have it because it's directly related to the struct. Alright, so we got that moved out. So now if we look at our code that we're dealing with and kind of the logic of this, like I said, we register, we embed the table, we do the fetch, and then we update the table. Alright, cool. So let's first off start by well, unresolved cell. Oh, weather cell. Does it need just a build? Come on, there we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, good old Xcode. All right, great. That looks great. So let's first find out which one of these is wrong. And I see not the right way, but an easy way to do that would just be to put the zip code as a label of its own. So come on, subheader. I know headline works. Come on, Xcode. Alright, so now we have the zip code label, so let's just put that on the same line as wherever the city or the location is. So, whoops, right here. Okay, so if we want it on the same line, we'll just need a horizontal stack or an H stack. Give me 1 second while I try to persuade Xcode to run a little faster. Okay. Get to building. And so in the H stack, oops, we just need this. We'll just have now it's failed because it's not fetching SwiftUIKit. So I'm just going to update to the latest packages. There's also some new stuff in there, so regardless of deleting derived data and clearing all my build and all that stuff, I'd still recommend updating to the latest package version since I have updated SwiftUIKit in the meantime with some table view stuff. So let's try to get this to run. We have the zip code label in there. We have it put in. We just haven't updated the label, so it's not going to show up. But let's, well, first off, does weather forecast even have the zip code? I don't think it does. So first, we're going to check back into the model that we get, and we're going to look for if they give us a zip code. Alright, so they don't. So then I think that since we have the zip code right here, we can just add it to this weather object. Okay, so ideally, to make it easy on ourselves, we can just do weather zip code equals zip code. Alright, cool. So then in weather, weather forecast specifically, we'll have a zip code, and we'll just say it's an int. So it's optional, just because I don't want it to interfere with the decoding right there. Oh, and weather's let. So we'll just change this to var because we want to mutate it, and that will work for us. Now we can just say zip code.label text is data zip code. But if zip code is nil, then we just don't want to put anything. So we'll just put empty. Oh, it needs to be an int, so I'm right there, but we just need to wrap this in a string. We could also put it in a string constructor, or we could also just, use the description on that. But, oh, jeez. Oh my goodness. There we go. All right, that makes actual sense. I say as it doesn't. Whatever. It will have a 0 zip code if it's no. All right, so there we go. Now we can start seeing all the zip codes pop in. So I can scroll the top. Oops. I can scroll the top and then kind of see which one it is that we're missing. So now I can delete that and it'll actually make some sense. Cool. So there we go. So that doesn't look too nice. There we got that. And now if we run this quick, we'll have a little bit more spacing right there. So yeah, doesn't look too good. I'm not a designer or anything, but we can at least see the zip codes that have, populated in. So the next thing, let's try to, well, let's not try. Let's delete one of these, or let's delete, or let's move them. Let's have them be able to, if I want to put North Canton up at the very top, and if I want to delete any of these, let's let that happen. Okay. So we'll just say dot edit. Now these are all new, so it's like can edit. Yeah. So we want to make sure that since we're overriding some of these data source functions or methods, that we use them in the same way as if we created our own custom one. So in that case, we'll just say that every row is editable. So this is the data source. I can show you specifically. Can edit. So for this specific method, whatever we put in there will just be ran, and it needs to return a Boolean. In this case, we're returning true, so that everything can be edited. Okay. Can move also. I said we wanted to be able to move them, so I think all of them are able to move. If you specifically wanted one stuck in a place and it couldn't like shift or anything, that don't let them move them. Those are their pinned tasks or something like that. But in this case, we want them to be able to edit and also move any row. Cool. So if we do, let's say delete. Sorry, is it delete? I forget now. Set delete complement. No. I forget how to delete something, but let's do a swipe, okay? Or actually, let's do the move. The move's easy. I could actually decide on something. So move row at source index to destination. So we're given the initial, or the to, and the from is, the from and the to. I'm messing up on the spot. All right, so we're given from and to. So from index path to index path. Cool. So we just kind of want to flip the zip code around. First off, we are messing with the zip codes is our data. Well, really, like table has its own data. Zip codes is our representation, or at least our initial one. So if this is weird, because right now we're just using this as an initial kind of data, and we're just populating. So if we ran this again, and maybe this will make more sense if I run this a few times, we're not gonna fetch and refresh. We're actually gonna fetch and append. So we'll have a little bit more cells than we want. Let me comment that out, sorry. But now we can see that we have a lot more, and that's because we are literally just appending the data to the table's data. We're not managing the data in any way. Okay. So let's say we leave zip codes alone, but we say that we now have some data. And let's say the some data was weather forecast. Okay. So why is it weather forecast? Well, that's a good question. It's specifically weather forecast because if we go to weather cell and you scroll down, well, you might not see it in here, but you'll see weather and weather ID. And if you go to the callers in ID, it'll give you a question mark. Great. But pretty much it should take you to here where weather cell ID is used. And we can use weather forecast as a representation, or a cell ID, or weather cell as a representation for weather forecast and vice versa. Whoops, there we go. So that's why data is weather forecast, because I only care if there's one row or one section right now, so I'm not caring if there's multiple sections. That's why it's a single array. But then it's all of our weather forecasts. So instead of adding to there, we want to actually add our data self.data.append and then weather. Okay. If I could type. Oh, great. So let's check that. Let's do in this guard. Make sure that self.data that contains some weather that has the exact same zip code as we're looking. So if it does, well, if it doesn't, then we want to continue. But if this does pass, then we want to return. Okay? So this won't, if we run this, I'll run this right now, but we shouldn't see anything actually come into the table. And that's because we're never updating the table itself. So now we have data that we can kind of manipulate for this table. And instead of appending this data, we can update the data entirely. And there we go. And now we just have to do that. So now, there we go. So now every time that data is set or updated, we will update the table and we will refresh all the data, and we're going to update all the data with this data right here. If we did take in this variable, well, whatever we name it, this will be whatever the previous data is. We can manipulate it, we can sort it, and then we can append or prepend whatever data we want, or we can override the whole thing, and anytime we update data, it's going to update the cell for us. And in this case, we can run it multiple times and update the update all this, and it will only add. Sorry, I'm scrolling a lot. It will only add data that does not have the same zip code. Okay. So, well, what about if it's the same zip code? Maybe you wanted to update it. Maybe you didn't want to just return and not do anything with the data. You actually wanted to update the data specifically in the table. So if you wanted to do that, and that's actually a really cool thing that we can do, is if we do have some data that contains the same zip code as what we're looking at, then what we want to do is, oops, I don't want to guard. Crazy. We'll just say self data. I actually, can I just get the index path? Because this returns a Boolean. Index. See, they don't ever have any first index. There it is. So first index where zip code is equal to zip code. And this is optional, hopefully. So if we do find an index, then we would like to use that index to update. So we'll say self.data index. And in this case, I'm not gonna exactly. Well, let's try just updating. Actually, no. I'm gonna overwrite the whole weather object on there. That way, the did set is still ran, and everything is fine right there. So do that. And I could return in there. I'm just gonna do an else. Normally I don't do if else, but we'll try that. Okay. So now this should update the weather. So how do we test that? That's a great question. So let's, instead of doing this, we could just make a button, and let's say the button was on the left side, and we'll put it in the array of buttons. We'll have an edit button on the left side, and we'll also have a fetch button. So we can say UI bar button item, and for SwiftUIKit we can just kind of give it a custom view in there. So then for there we're just going to say label, oops, not a label, a button, and we'll say fetch. I'll say edit because it's on the far left. So we'll do this one later. Let's just copy that. And so we'll fetch. And so let's say we're going to fetch the zip codes. We'll probably change the zip codes to be mutable, and so that we can add our own zip codes, obviously. But let's see. Let me say self. Right, so now we have edit, which will say edit, and then we have fetch, which will fetch this. Now, how do we actually know that this is even doing anything? Well, hopefully if we breakpoint in here, we'll actually see the weather object. Oh, whoops, wrong button. And yep, we see the weather object right there. So we see for North Canton, temperature is the same. So yeah, we'll have to get lucky with the temperature magically changing, but we'll leave it here and click it after a little bit. How about that? So we have, you know, the edit button to turn it into edit. Well, actually, where am I scrolling? Here we go. Why isn't the edit actually editing? It's super easy. Self.table.is editing. I'm just gonna toggle it right now. Like in most cases, when you set it to editing, you'll have a cancel button, you'll have a done button. Right now, we're just gonna let the edit button toggle so we can kind of see what happens. And you can see we get the kind of move indication, and we can move. So it's actually moving, but that is 100% visual and doesn't matter. I mean, I guess it does matter because you can visually see. But yeah, when I click fetch, which is updating it, and also you can see I can click edit to untoggle and toggle it. But when I click fetch, it resets the order to what the data actually is. So for edit, we just need to manipulate the data in a way so it doesn't do this. So let's make it in a way that I can, and it does look like it has changed. I think I remember that being 85 and not 29. So that's cool. So let's be able to actually move North Canton to the top so that when we fetch it doesn't switch. Okay. So when we go here, we'll just see that we have a from and a to. So right now we're only dealing with rows, so we want to say the to data is equal to self.data at to.row, and then we can just say data is to.row equals self.data from from row, so to row from row, and then we'll just say self.data from row to data. And then do we have to do anything? Oh, no, it returns nothing. So then we can just say, let's see if that works, because I'm curious, do we have to do self.data equals something to trigger the did set? I always forget. I can't never remember. So we can edit. We can move North Canton to the top. And now when we fetch it, there we go. It's stuck in there. Okay. So now it hasn't moved. So there, I think we're good. Let's try edit again and move these a bit more though. So let's move it in a little bit more. Yeah, how about that? Cool. So that's how you simply move it. Pretty much you just say it can be moved at an index path, and all of our index paths can be moved. And then we just define what it means to move. So the UI is going to make us our single source of truth when it comes to that, and everything should work fine. So can edit, can move, can we delete? No. I think there's a few more things that we have to do to actually delete these, but let's try that. So I think it's edit style. Editing style for row at index path. And like I said, we really just want to delete. Okay? We don't want to insert, we just want to delete. So dot editing commit, here it's commit or something. Commit editing style for index path. Okay, so this one's specific to what you want to do. This is the style and path, whatever. So I guess we can really ignore the style. Maybe if you had multiple different styles, you'd want to do a switch or check through them. But in this case, we know all of them we're going to delete. So simply, I think it's just data path and we're just gonna search. Oh, actually, no. So if we keep it up to date, the index path rows should be in sync with this whatever order data is in. Okay. So we should just be able to remove at the row requested. Right. Poor North Canton. Oh, there it is. It's on the bottom. Okay, cool. So let's see. If we move it to the top, we move some things around. Oh, you see that was jumping around right there? Yes, that's weird. So why is it doing that? Let's see. If we fetch, nothing changes. but if we go move this to the bottom, they like switch around. Okay, so that is weird. I think what we need to do, we'll one print data. Oh, I think I know what it might be. Maybe, oh, actually, never mind. I was thinking it was in a different section, but they all should be in the same section. So we fetch, that's fine, fetch is good. If we move one, they change. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. That's a lot of data. I don't want to read through that. Oh, no? That is weird. I'm like staring at this too much now. Oh, jeez. Alright. So I guess we'll try to debug this because this is kind of important. Let's say from and to. Alright, so if we just move one down, we have 0 to 1. Cool. Let's move another down. Yeah, that makes sense. We have 0 to 3. Okay. So then, here, I'm going to print one more thing to kind of get the name of it, because numbers help a little. Oops. Oh, I can't even think. There we go. Okay. Alright, so we will move North Canton down. So we're moving from, oh, is it backwards? I think it might be backwards. Let's double check. So we're gonna say move row at 2. So from 2, yes. So, well, no, I guess that is, yeah, no, that is right. Huh. Alright, let's move this down then. Okay, 2. So then, if I move this all the way down, oh. Okay. Well, I guess you know how I implement it is all right, but yeah, my way of implementing it's kind of weird because it does flip them. So we're really gonna want to just insert this data. We'll remove and insert it instead of replacing, because right now what we're doing is we're taking index 0 and we are flipping index 0 and index 2 right there. So that's why it's flipping. So what we need to do is we need to say whatever data we're moving it to, or whatever we're data moving from. Data. So we'll just say that we want the from data. And we're going to so now we can self.data insert, oops, insert new element, there we go, from data at 2.row. And I think, yeah, we're going to want to do this after we remove it. Famous last words, though, honestly. So we'll just switch these. Okay. And we'll switch bottom, switch the top. Okay, that's much better. Whew. All right. So yeah, this is the correct way to implement it for how we have it right now. So let's say that we wanted to delete. Well, let's delete this one. And there we go. We can fetch, and it'll pop back up. And now the test would be moving this data. Put it like halfway through. Kind of gets weird animation, or if you just throw and drop it. But yeah, here we go. Awesome. All right, cool. So we're fetching the data. We're able to move it. We're able to delete it. Let's first off, well, yeah, let's be able to add. So set right bar button, and we're only going to have one bar button for the right, and this will just be the button add. And so for this one, we want to present a modal, and we want to get a zip code. So how can we do that? Well, we can use the navigate singleton that we gave our navigation controller to, and we can just use that to say we want to present something, or we want to go to something, or anything like that. So for this, we want to say we want to go to a view controller, and for this one, I'm just specifically going to create it on the spot. I don't think this needs to be anything special, but how we'll present it is a modal. Okay, so we'll just make sure that we have UI view with a background color of white for this purpose. Now, obviously, if you're working with light and dark theme, you'll mind that, but it, like, specifically for this, we'll just have white as a background color. So for this, we really just need, I guess, a VStack with a label and a field, and maybe, I guess, a button, right? Yeah, a button would be nice, maybe. So zip code, and then we'll have a field. We'll have no value in there, when we'll have a placehold of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll just say a number pad. Okay. Let this stop freaking out. Oh, and this needs to be a string. There we go. All right, cool. And then, oh, yeah, we just need the button. new stuff. Alright, so let's run this and see what we get. So we should have a right bar button that says add. When we click on it, it'll navigate to a view controller with a white background as a VStack or a vertical stack, where it aligns label with zip code, field, and a button. Alright, cool. We have that, but it's kind of spaced at the bottom. So to push everything up to the top, we'll have a spacer. And specifically to give some room to the top, I'm going to add another spacer with some width of 32, just to make it look nicer. Now there's other ways to handle this. Obviously, maybe not obviously. I would prefer if there's a cancel button up here and an add button over here. I put width instead of height. That's really funny. I'd push that down. But let's actually do that really quick because it's not that hard. I'm making it seem like it's annoying to add that, but it's very simple. So we'll just have an H stack with some things. We'll say a button that says cancel, and then we can just say navigate.shared.dismiss. Okay, that was easy. That's the cancel button. Then all we have is some spacer between these buttons, and then we'll have the button to add, and it does stuff. Okay. Cool. We just need a comma right there, and back to adding the spacer at the bottom. I don't know why I deleted that. We need it to push up to the top. We need something to take up a lot of space. In this case, that's the spacer at the bottom. So if we wanted text alignment, we can make sure that's centered. And I'm going to say with padding 32. Just get some big padding in here. Oh, well, actually, no, not for that. Yeah. Padding 8. And then, yeah, we'll just leave that. How about that? I think padding defaults to 8. I forget. I think so. Alright, cool. So now I can type in here, press add. If I press cancel, it'll dismiss it. Awesome. So, oops, clicked away. So now we need to make sure that we're actually getting data from this field. So we have a button that does stuff. So all we need to do is make sure that we're in the scope of both, and we can simply just say that we have some var zip code value, and we'll just say that it is optional int. Okay. What that means now is we have to return VStack because it's not a one line, and now we have to use zip code value. So anytime the field updates, we want the value of whenever it updates to just replace or update zip code value. All right, cool. Well, that was it. Now we've updated that, or so it seems. Well, that is pretty easy because now it's an optional int. And so now guard let zip code, and then we can just say zip code value. If it's not, we just want to return. I mean, let's go the extra mile and say navigate.shared.toast, and we can say that we have a toast error message. Let's pin it to the top. Seconds to persist for the user. How about 3 seconds? I'll give it a padding of 16, and I'll just delete the rest of this except for the closure, the view handler. So all this is just a label, and we'll just say zip code required. Okay, cool. But if zip code actually does have a value, then we can just say self data dot append oh, whoops. I guess we don't. We just need to say fetch zip code. And we'll have to say self. And once we've added that, I just want to dismiss this. So click add, it dismisses, and then I'll update this. Okay. Let's see. All right, so we got that. Remember, North Canton on top. There we go. Fetch. Oh, we saw that update. And now if I add, let's do. Oh, did it not work? Oh, well, that was my one try at guessing. Let's do random zip codes. All right. Oh, what was it? 30. All right. Boom. There we go. Yeah, that's right. All right, cool. It's actually pretty nice there. Wow. But let's put Fairburn up on top. And there we go. All right, cool. So the last two things that I want to do for the stream is make clouds and broken clouds and all this, make these into emojis or kind of clean up the UI, simplify it, reduce the words. I think in this case we'll also remove the zip code. But let's get clouds and everything into, let's transfer that into an emoji and actually kind of give them a visual representation of what it is. After that, update the view a little, and I think that would be good for the stream. So for this, we have clouds, lots of clouds. Can I get a lot of these? Yes. Oh, this is great. Options? Come on. Just, no. Give me in a... Give me in a file. Share. Okay. I want all this data. Let's... Cool. All right. So we got all that. I could do it really cheeky and just pass it in by int and only ones that are int, but I want to kind of get rid of these. I don't want to go through each one though. No, I'm just joking. Let's do this. Yeah. Okay, so what we're gonna do is something to make the time not take forever. Oops. That's that. Okay. I forget the that. Okay, and then I think that's right. Yeah, all right. So we're just gonna put all these as strings. We'll just put all these into an array. Say zip codes are all those. Oh, this is not a good. You like, yeah, don't do this. So we'll do compact map, and we'll just say int from the values. Cool. All right. we're done. Except there's no commas. Oh my gosh. Oh, where'd my data go? Ignore me while I do this. Ah! Oh, that's a lot. All right, already giving up. Definitely giving up. Okay, oop. There. That's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. All right, so now we should get a little bit more data. Sorry, I didn't have the data prepared, but now we have actually some stuff. So we have clear, we have clouds, and yes, the whole point of adding more stuff was to hopefully get more things, but it looks like we only have clear and clouds. No. Okay, that's fine. So what we want to do now is let's import UIKit. Oh, have I not added that? So that's fine. We can just say that we have an enum of weather type, and we right now I see clear. So adding strings. So we have clear, case clouds. I'm curious on what clouds we have. So a few clouds, scatter clouds. I only see a few. So we have cloud, we have clear. Well, since we only have two, this is pretty easy. So I hate to give a bad or very, kind of pointless example, but we can just kind of say that clouds for that one. All right, cool. So now if we go to the weather cell and well, first off, let's get rid of the weather description. We can just kind of hide that. And then we'll add whatever this is. We'll make sure to make it to, oh, come on. Is this still not build or anything? What the heck? Index, come on. So we'll say weather type raw value dot to lower. Well, that's, I think we'll want to do an if that. Yeah. Just say weather type, try to get that value. Oops. And then we can use weather type right here, else, oh, it's not an else, it's an iflet. And then we can just say weather name, weather title. Handle equals dot text equals weather dot raw value. Okay. All right, that should work. lower case, I think it is. It used to be two lower, two upper. Now it's lowercase, lowercased, and lowercase returns it. If you put lowercase, then I would try to mutate it. So now if I'll run it, we don't get anything. And it's because it's not going in here. So let's check this again. Huh. Looks like we update the data and then oh yeah, okay. So we'll just do this. Since the data is not like moving or there it is. If the data is moving and everything like that, it would add it. Get rid of the description. There we go. First we have that dot main weather type raw value. Oh geez, data dot weather. I know it's no. If you know why, shout out in chat. I'll see it in the comments. It is because of these. Ideally, I guess we could, make an extension on the weather type and say weather type emoji equals the string, and in this case then we need to switch over the value and pick. Luckily we have them right here. Oops. Case.clouds. So then we can get rid of these, and now if we run it, it'll actually match the values of, oops, so it's actually going to go in here, and now it can actually use the raw value, which is going to be wrong. It's going to say clouds are cloudy and that stuff, or clear. So let's just switch this to the emoji, and then I think that would be good. There we go. So now we can quickly see what kind of temperature they're having. I don't really like where it is. I think I like this a little bit more. Switching the zip code to the bottom and then putting the weather title or the weather label on the right. All right, awesome. There we go. So we can click in and see. We can add our own, edit. If I want to delete one, then I can. If I press fetch, it would add any of the ones that we deleted back. All right. So I think that's good for this stream. I don't feel like making these look nicer really makes any sense until we finalize kind of the data that we want to use for the cell. Are there any questions in the chat? Otherwise, I might just end it here. Yeah, I guess I could try adding the swipe gesture really quick. So why not? I'll do that really quick. But after that, I'm going to end it. So on our view controller for our table view, if I can find it, down a little bit more, here we go. We can start defining what swipes do on our cell. So we can say leading or trailing. So if it's leading, it would be to the left, and if it's trailing, it would be to the right. So let's do trailing swipe, and for that one, I want it to delete the cell. So you could click edit to delete like this, and it pops up right here. But I want to be able to swipe all the way over and delete it. Well, why do you already do what I want to do? Well, let's swipe to the left then. Since the editing style for row at automatically, if you put delete, it automatically gets these swipes. So Newcastle, bye, and then yeah, fetch Newcastle. All right, cool. So instead of trailing, let's do leading, not leading anchor. Leading swipe action, and we'll say path, and we'll just say UI swipe actions configuration takes in an array of actions. We'll just say we have UI contextual action that has a style of normal, move to top. And so for our handler, we get the action that we are. The view is the view that is presenting the action, which is actually the swipe. It's kind of weird. I thought when I first saw this, I thought it was, you know, this view that I was talking about, but it's actually the view containing the action itself. So the escaping will be the completion. So what we want to do whenever they swipe, we want to move whatever cell we're at or whatever path, and we want to move that to the top. So we can just say, can we say prepend? So move to the top. I guess, yeah, just insert at 0. That's easy enough. Someone's probably screaming that. I'm sorry. Forgive me. At 0. All right. So now if I swipe, I'll say move to top. Boom. There you go. Fetch. If I wanted to add a new one, if I wanted to move Newcastle down and I wanted to move someone up, finish that, and then I wanted one to jump up, boom, there we go. Alright, so that was really easy, a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. But that's the nice part about using SwiftUIKit, is that it just kind of exposes these closures that you define for actions. Of course, you can provide your own data source, or you can provide your own delegate. Right now, table view in SwiftUIKit does not use a delegate. It is purely a data source that you can manipulate. So then you can fully be the delegate. The data source is really nice to kind of just say some stuff, and I'm scrolling a ton. But yeah, these are all the methods in the data source, and the delegate doesn't have anything. So all these taps are actually from the cells themselves. So you can also change that by saying that you're the delegate, and you can define what a view or a tap on the cell means. Also, I think select. Yeah. See, there are some of these. Did select row at index. So that's in some of these actions and that stuff. So you can do any of these. Yeah, there's quite a bit of them, and that's all for the data source, and I think some are for the delegate. Probably need to move them into the right thing. I think they probably leaked and just were made in the delegate or the data source on accident. So I'll make sure to update that. But I think that's it for the stream. If there's any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, comments, or feel free to come in Discord and chat with us. All the links are in the description, or check out my GitHub. But thank you for watching. I'll be in the next week, so feel free to tune in there. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a nice week.